In this episode, we discuss the Buffalo Sabres tying the longest winless streak in NHL history with Chad DeDominicis. Check out the Florida Panthers Aaron Ekblad injury and how that impacts their team with David Dwork. And we also team ISO the San Jose Sharks, who are playing poorly and who could be moved at the trade deadline with Brian DeLumpa. Hit the music. Welcome to Jablam Sports Hockey, folks. I'm your host, Peter Borjaranov, and the mic is always on. You can find me on Twitter at Russia98. You can find the full show at Jablam Sports. If you have any questions or comments, please tweet us. Use the hashtag Jablam Sports. That's JABLAM Sports. Please subscribe to us if you haven't done so yet, and click on the three dots in your podcasting app. Share our show with three hockey fans you know. Thank you, everyone. Remember, check out our website, go to jablamsports.com, see all our podcasts, and even game notes for each episode. You'll get links to all the things we mentioned on this show, including guests. For our podcasts, click on podcasts, and then hockey on this show specifically right on our website. Time for this week's Trending Now. We're going to split up Trending Now this week with two segments. And first off, we'll head to Magic City and talk to David Dwork. He covers the Panthers for WPLG Local 10, and you can find him on the Chirping the Cats podcast. You can find him on Twitter as well, at David Dwork, DWORK. So let's talk what's on everybody's minds, of course, across the league, and especially in Florida, the freak injury to Aaron Ekblad. That was pretty gruesome. I could barely even watch it, David.
Yeah, it was tough to watch, tough to hear, and just the way that it all played out. I mean, it's the kind of situation where, nobody knows what to do on the ice. I mean, you talk to the players after the game, and it's just, it sucks. It's the worst part of the game, really. It was very reminiscent for me of an injury that was sustained by Vincent Trocheck, I believe, 3 seasons ago when he broke his ankle. I want to say in Ottawa, actually. And it was in a similar corner, and it was screaming in pain, and it was just kind of bringing back all those horrible memories. But fortunately, I mean, once the news came out of exactly what happened, while it's gruesome to break a bone in your leg or, whatever part of his leg or ankle, whatever that broke, it's much better than tearing his knee apart, which is what we were all fearing at first. So, while it sucks for Ekblad, he's going to be out for some time. A 12-week timetable is a lot better than one measured in months.
So that means he's specifically out for the season. And what do you know exactly what the injury entails?
No, the Panthers, the only information they released was that they said a fracture to a lower extremity. They didn't even say his leg. So it could be a leg, an ankle. They just kind of vague that way. But they did give the timetable of 12 weeks. So while, yes, he's out for the rest of the regular season, potentially, the last day for the Stanley Cup Finals isn't until June or July 9th. So 12 weeks from now is mid-June. So, should the Panthers go on some kind of a run, perhaps Ekblad makes a Stamkosian return the way he did for Tampa last year, if the Panthers make it that far. But just like I said, just the fact that he even could come back potentially for a Stanley Cup Final, that's even in the realm of possibility after the 24 hours after the injury, when we were, I was worried, could he even start next season on time if he tore his knee up? So for me, it's been a lot of good news following a really scary night on Sunday.
Yeah, it was pretty scary out there. I'm a big fan of the NHL, and I remember when I bought Aaron's jersey, I was like, I can't believe I'm buying a jersey of a player that's about half my age. I thought it was, oh man, and hearing about that and watching, it was rough. So obviously, he's a big impact player for the Panthers. He's possibility of him winning the Norris this year. That leaves a huge hole on the blue line for the Panthers. As we're recording, this is Tuesday. We already heard on waivers, Shane Gostisbehere has been put on waivers by the Flyers. Is he potentially somebody that they might pick up for the rest of the regular season, or maybe somebody else out there? Are they looking to fill that hole right now?
Well, there was already talk that Bill Zito was looking for a top four defenseman weeks ago. So if that's been the case, and he's been stockpiling D all year. He picked up two off of waivers during training camp in Gus Forsling and Noah Juleson, in addition to signing Kevin Knutson, who was on a PTO, to the taxi squad as well, and he's played in a few games this year. They've got Riley Stillman, another prospect. He's up. So they've put a pretty poignant value on defensemen all year. I feel like the Ekblad injury is only going to kind of pour gasoline on that fire. Now, granted, with you mentioned a guy like Shane Doss this bear, while he might come in and be able to pick up some of the offensive slack that is been left by Ekblad's injury, Ekblad is also as good as he is offensively. He's just as good in his own end as a defensive player. That is going to be pretty hard to replace. You're not going to find a one guy that come in that's going to be able to replace, close to what Ekblad does. So I think it's going to be a matter of looking at the rest of the lineup, seeing, whether a Keith Yandel starts getting more minutes, because his minutes have gone down this year because he's basically there for the power play and almost the liability elsewhere. Do they need him offensively more now? That means they could bring in a defensive guy. So it's really, there's so many options. And then you think about how, like, a team like Nashville, who, Ellis might have been out, Ekholm might have been out. These guys, and all of a sudden Nashville's, right in the fourth spot. They're not going to be sellers. So it's such a fluid situation. I would guess that Bill Zito and his team have been on top of it, as they have with everything since he came here in September. But I would 100%, even before the Ekblad injury, it wouldn't have surprised me to see them make a move for a defenseman. Now it's almost a certainty. You would think that they're going to bring somebody in.
Speaking about the trade deadline, we'll have a special trade deadline episode in the next 2 weeks. Obviously, one precursor to the deadline, guys that could be moved, and the following week talking about those big trades. Canada has just changed their quarantine changes from 14 days to 7 days for NHL players getting traded. So sorry if anybody else wanted to go there. NHL players, you're allowed 7 days only. And April 12th is the last day a player can be traded to an NHL eligible team for the playoffs. And of course, regular season schedule is planning to end April 10th. And of course, we've already heard there's some changes. There might be some games being played on the 11th, and they haven't changed anything. Have you heard? It's weird that they haven't said anything about changing when the playoffs start, but there are games. I believe it's Edmonton versus Montreal playing on May 11th.
Yeah, they just did that earlier a couple of days ago. I think they added the games at the end because Florida, their schedule was expanded by 2 days, 2 days longer than it was originally set to be. So you would imagine that if need be, they're going to have to push something back. I mean, they may be willing to say, well, let's see which teams we have to expand the regular season, and they would start the playoffs later than, say, a team that, didn't have to start. You know what I mean? They can stagger the start of the playoffs. So there's still options for them. But again, we still have 20 to 25 games, whatever it is, to go. No reason to think that it's going to be a smooth 20 to 25 games for everybody, because it just hasn't been that kind of a season. So, as far as like why they haven't said this is how we're going to do it yet, I think they're expecting things to change again between now and then. And, we'll just have to see how it plays out.
The reduced quarantine time also is affecting the American Hockey League. So the same thing for them if they're going to Canada. And all the players are still going to be tested every single day for the 14 days while they're changing or quarantining between the two the divisions if they go to the north, or they're switching to any of the divisions south of the border. You've told me already about the Florida Panthers, and we've seen how jam-packed some of the teams are with, like, say, the Dallas Stars. Florida's also been dealt with a bit of COVID and everything and delays. What else have the Panthers dealt with in terms of schedule and changes so far during the season?
I think they've been just kind of dealing with the same things that everybody else is dealing with. They were one of the first teams to have to, because when everything happened with the Dallas Stars, right when the season was about to start, Dallas and Florida were playing the first two games against each other. So Florida's season opener got pushed back almost a week. Then for the team that Florida was supposed to play games 3 and 4 against was Carolina. They had their COVID issue. So Florida kind of had to deal with a lot of that stuff early on. Now the schedule is just starting to kind of wave back. and stack up to where all those makeup games are coming in, which we were just talking about Florida's regular season getting extended a couple of days. But it hasn't been anything that any of the players have said anything negatively about all year. They've been asked about what it's like on the road, having to basically stay confined to the hotel. And, they're just using the opportunity to spend more time with each other. They playing a lot of video games, a lot of Call of Duty. That's probably the most popular game with the Panthers. They play cards. Coach Quenneville said he just loves watching hockey in the hotel, watching a couple horse races when he can catch one on TV. But overall, they've made it a real positive experience. They've moved in terms of how the Panthers have done things differently. They have basically moved all of their everything to the BB&T Center where they play their home games. Normally, their practice facility is about 10, 15 minutes north. They haven't been there at all. Everything has been at the BB&T Center. It's been a very controlled environment. They basically took an entire underground parking tunnel area and turned it into their outdoor gym. So that way they could be out there socially distanced and safe and in the fresh air. Everybody's just raved about the job that the arena crew did, putting all that together in a short period of time. So for the Panthers, I mean, they've definitely made the best out of a unfortunate situation with the coronavirus and the pandemic hitting North America as hard as it has. Yeah, I mean, for that, I think they've done a great job, and they all have been very appreciative for the position that they've been put in.
I remember during the off season and before the bubble started, a lot of players were playing games, especially on Twitch, and some of the players are getting more involved with esports, like Zachary Hyman of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Is there been any word of that or any connecting with Twitch or maybe esports or anything like that with any of the Panthers?
I'm not sure. I vaguely remember something with either Sasha Barkov or Jonathan Huberdeau getting involved with video games last season, but that's one area that I'm not very sure of. I know that Panthers website reporter Jameson Olive, he does a lot with the Panthers Twitch and also radio play-by-play Doug Plagans. I know they do a lot of the video game stuff. So if you have one of them on the pod, that's definitely the guy that would be the guys to ask.
I might have to invite them on. All right. Thank you for coming on the show, David. You can find him on Twitter at David Dwork. Thanks for coming on the show again.
Hey, my pleasure, Peter. Anytime, man.
Time for Trending Now, Part 2. Of course, frequent guest of the show, Chad DeDominicis. He's the managing editor of SB Nation's Die by the Blade, and he's also the co-host of the Expected Buffalo podcast. You can find him on Twitter at CM DeDominicis. And we will get to the topic everybody is obviously talking about, especially after what happened last night. Of course, we're recording this on Tuesday, and Monday night we saw... Man, I feel bad for you guys. A 3-0 lead gone, and the streak continues for the Sabres. So we will get to that shortly. But we've seen NBA players in markets, of course, allow their players and their personalities to come out. They shine. They let them shine, right? NBA players, even years ago, they let them wear whatever shoes. I think it is a little ridiculous when you're the Lakers and then you're wearing blue shoes. But at least we finally start seeing different stuff in the NHL. A little bit more personality. I remember when Ovechkin had yellow laces and he brought out the visor, and all the old school guys are like, what is this stupid visor thing? What?
The dark visor, if I remember it. Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness. And even now with the Golden Knights with the golden helmet, and the Dallas Stars, when they came out with the retro, they had even the the silver looking,
the all whites.
Yeah, the all whites and the silver helmet to go with it. I thought it was pretty cool and unique. The golden helmets might be a little too much for me.
That's a bit much.
Yeah, it's too much going on there. Oh, man. But it was great to see at the beginning of the season and that times are changing, and we've already seen a lot of players honoring Willie O'Ree, the first black NHL hockey player, of course. Look, with those fantastic hockey skates, they still have the logo, the colors of, like, even Matthews and Nylander, I know, on the Leafs had the blue and white skates, but Willie O'Ree's face and signature on it. It's cool. It's nice. I like it. Austin Matthews finally getting out of that scoring slump. On that day, he had so many chances, of course, but he brought out a new CCM Jet Speed stick. Again, all the stuff we're talking about in this episode, it's going to be on the website, jablamsports.com. This is episode 16, season 6. So we're gonna put an image of the stick out there. We're gonna try to put the image, of course, of the great skates too. But on the stick, the CCM Jet Speed stick, the skyline of Toronto is on it. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, hey man, custom's the way to go. I mean, that kind of gets, people are really into it, and it's good the NHL is going that way. And I'm trying to think as you were talking, the Sabres do anything like that. And I don't think so. I mean, besides like goalie equipment and stuff like that, which is always customized. I don't think I know Eichel has a thing with Bauer. So maybe he's done something that I can't recall recently, but he doesn't really go out that far. They're really beyond that. There's not a lot of personality in the Sabres anyways, or a big market for that either, being in Buffalo. But yeah, I mean, some of the goaltenders like Omar had, Sabres logos on his pads, and he did some other cool stuff with his helmet and his pads too. So yeah, I mean, there's those kind of things, but nothing to the extent at least that I can recall of what the guys in Toronto did, which is super cool though. Super cool.
Yeah, it's great to see a lot of players come out with their personality, and especially during the pandemic. Some players doing the whole Twitch thing and it comes out. It brings, especially the younger generation, in. I remember even when
of course.
I remember when I was a little kid too. I'm just recalling it now. I loved Martin Brodeur because again he was on the Devils and he had the cool Devils mask with the tail and everything, and I just loved Brodeur. Yep. He was a great goaltender, of course, but he was different. It was unique. It's cool to see. So
for sure, yeah, that draws things. That draws younger people in. Anything they can to differentiate themselves is kind of where the league should be going right now, and it appears that they're kind of open to that. And then even they can go back to the All-Star game, kind of the personalities and the different things they did to change that around, going to a 3-on-3, making it more interesting. So I think they're kind of recognizing that, and maybe it starts to filter out to the players, and even like the NBA style that they do. They have all those different kinds of jerseys. And I think the NHL maybe is recognizing that, especially in the COVID situation, how that can be a revenue boost for you. We saw it with reverse retros, and hopefully they'll kind of keep those, even if it's like a 1-year thing they're doing now, just kind of keep that going and give teams and fans the opportunity to kind of buy some custom stuff, because that's really what it's been all about, right? Kind of going back to your roots as a young fan, and I think the reverse retro kind of did that for a lot of people.
Yeah, some people didn't like some of the colors. Some of them like. Maybe the Sabres, even the Leafs and the Detroit Red Wings. Yeah. Some of them just didn't do enough of change. A little bit. It's got to be a little bit more unique. Like it would have been cool to see the red and black color on the newer on the classic Sabres logo. That would have been really cool.
Yeah, the go ahead would have been nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's teams that crushed it. Like the Quebec ones in Colorado are nice. The Coyotes one is fantastic. I'm trying to think who else. Minnesota's is really nice. So there's a couple teams that killed it there, and like I said, there's a couple teams that flopped to like the Red Wings. But what can the Red Wings do? I mean, it looks like the same exact jersey with just a little bit different colors on it.
Exactly, but that's when you take the leap and you do something crazy, something something to do with the Motor City and the wing and stuff. You got to take the leap. Sure. And a person that took the leap finally for hockey as well was Matthew Tkachuk. We've already seen his leaps into players on the ice. But the new version of the hockey card, I guess, is the NFT, the non-fungible, I guess it's fungible, token. And they're auctioning off on charity, Matthew Tkachuk's hockey card. And we're going to put that on the website as well. You can take a look at that. It's pretty cool. It's unique. It's for school. I was talking to Ken Reed. I threw this at him. He doesn't like the idea. He loves hockey cards. He likes the old school hockey cards. I loved collecting hockey cards as a kid too. But the thing is, when they came out with different hockey cards, like this worn part of the jersey on them, or the hologram ones, or the ones you can see through, you like them even more. So what do you think of the new NFT cards, I guess you could say, that the players, like, they've been doing it in the NBA, but now Matthew Tkachuk has one?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not a big card guy. But I mean, I think it's cool. It goes back to our original conversation, right? If it's anything to differentiate yourself and kind of get out there, be at the front of the line and kind of, change things, especially for a sport like hockey. That's huge in Canada, but it's still probably number 3 or maybe even number 4, in the US. So I think doing things like this and getting people in from different, markets, different types of fans, card traders, getting them into hockey, But this type of thing they're doing, or we talked about jerseys and fashion, getting people in, that way. So I think it all kind of ties back to finding new fans and new ways to get eyes on your sport. So I mean, I can't really talk to the card itself or the card market or all that fun stuff, but I still think it ties into the bigger conversation of getting different eyes on your sport and trying to grow your sport, and that's always a good thing.
So let's talk about crappy news with the Sabers, of course. Monday night, they were leading 3-0 against the Flyers, who were also not having great times either. But they still found a way in the third period to come back down 3-0, score 3 goals, and then score a fourth and win the game. I know the streak has been hard, but how much harder was that game for Buffalo and their passionate fans?
A lot of the games this season kind of just rolled off people. Doesn't really make people like irate or mad. Because not only because the Sabres have struggled the last 2 years, but just this season in general, just everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything you could possibly think of has gone wrong for this team. Eichel being hurt out of the gate, Hall and Skinner and Eichel having career low shooting years and bad luck. Your goaltender gets hurt. Oh, by the way, there's a massive COVID outbreak because the league didn't take something seriously. You had Ristolainen, who was playing really well for the first time like ever. He gets probably the worst case of COVID in the NHL, and now he's back to the player he was. Jake McCabe tears up his knee when he was one of the top defensive defensemen in the league. Allmark was hurt. Hutton was hurt. Dustin Tokarski was playing games, and he hasn't played in the league since 2016. And it adds up. Dylan Cousins has been in and out. He's hurt again now. They had Will Borgen come in who looked nice. Then he got hurt another game. Like a game or two later, broke his forearm. Just so much. But I'm building that all up because that loss last night, I think, again, legitimately angered people. And I was one of them. Like, I've never – a Sabres loss has not bothered me in years. That one, like, the way I put it out there, I think I lost a playoff game. Like, I was mad. And it's just – it's stupid stuff because it's – the frustrating part is it's the same guys making mistakes. No, it's just Ristolainen not making a play on the wall, being a lazy turnover, and then Matt Irwin not covering the guy in front, and then the very next shift, Ristolainen comes out and blatantly cross-checks forecheck in front, takes a penalty, keeps them going, and then at the end of the game, Ristolainen is just standing there in front of the net, not covering anybody, and the puck is tapped in, and it goes overtime and wins. So it's the same players that have been here forever, the 600, 700 games that make the bonehead mistakes, and they're still here. And I think that's the frustrating part when they've had turnover, but it's the same guys that are the reason for what they are continue to be here. And it's extremely frustrating. And, the results that is an 18-game losing streak.
Oh, wow. It's bringing me flashbacks. And like, I'm an emotional. I'm a sensitive guy. My empathy is very high compared to the average person. And it automatically brought me back to 4-1 as a Leaf, a childhood Leaf fan. And the goals are getting scored on, and you're just sinking in your heart, and you kind of know.
You feel it. You feel it's coming.
And it's and you just hold it in. You hold it in, and you wanna let it out, and you wanna yell, and you just.
Yeah, for sure.
Man. So they tied the record for 18 losses in a row in the NHL. Pittsburgh Penguins in 2004, I think it was February 22nd, is when they had their 18th loss to the Ottawa Senators, garnering only 1 point during that time, and obviously an overtime loss because we have that 3-point system. The offense, I'm just trying to compare the two. The offense over there was, the attendance over there was awful as well. They were barely breaking the 1,000 mark at the old Civic Center. Damn, I miss that place, actually. I was there at the last regular season game where Malkin was they were chanting MVP for Malkin back then, right, when they switched the arenas. I got to be there at the last game. It was cool, and they give away the jerseys. That was cool. I don't think we do that in Toronto. They're too upper brow or whatever. Whatever. Damn that Scotiabank ACC Center, or whatever they call it in Toronto. But the names, when you read on the list, they didn't have any big names except for Mario playing the 10 games, and he's like, I'm out of here. I don't want to play with this team. I got enough problems with my back. But they had Morozov, Dick Tarnstrom, and that was right before they rebuilt the team with Malkin and Crosby, and of course, I think that was Fleury's rookie season, so he barely got in games. And of course, I was there also. I'm wink, wink. At the lottery at Sportsnet. I was working that day. I can't remember which card. I was one of the card holders when they were winning that crazy lottery. I think we all know who was going to win that lottery, maybe.
Yeah.
But wow, that feels a long time ago. I'm an old dude now. But in Buffalo, at least, you have Eichel. You have Reinhart. They brought in Stahl and Skinner. You have Dahlin on the blue line. So it feels like you have the pieces of the puzzle. But why else are they losing so much other than maybe the COVID has hit them hard too? Like, what are the other reasons why the team has been at least this bad now? 18 straight games, tying the record and maybe surpassing it tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to remember too, Eichel hasn't played in weeks.
Yeah.
I think the last time he played was, I don't think he's played a game in March. So late February, maybe. I'm trying to remember exactly. It all blends together.
Yeah.
I mean, that poor guy, I feel bad for him. He came in a training camp with a fractured rib, and then he got a bum ankle, and now it's a neck thing he's trying to recover. So, you know, he's had it all, and it just goes in with everything. It's poor luck mixed in too. You know, Eric Stahl didn't work. He just looked shot too, and I don't know if it was him not really being fully engaged from that trade, which is possible. But he just didn't look like normal Eric Stahl. He was slow, wasn't involved offensively. You know, so we'll see how that goes in Montreal for them. But you know, that didn't work. Hall, while he's playing well and impacting the game, the puck's not going in. And same thing for Skinner. It's extremely terrible shooting luck, like tops of the league shooting luck. And then when you combine that, and like I said, then you have Dustin Tokarski playing games. You have Jonas Johansson playing games, who might be one of the worst goaltenders who's played in the NHL. And I feel like Colorado already has buyer's remorse for making that trade, even though it was only a 6-round pick. So it's, you know, it's all that added in. And then, you know, when you look at another lineup, your centers are a 20-year-old Dylan Cousins, Riley Sheahan, Cody Eakin, who might be one of the worst players in the league, and Curtis Lazar as your 4 centers. Like, what do you expect to happen? It's just, you know, it is what it is kind of thing. And it's not surprising when you step back and look at all the injuries and what's happened, and then the firing of the coach. And now it's just mental now. Last night showed that it's just pure and fully mental. The good news is, you know, they're cracking the Flyers, and the Flyers are really not a good team. So, you know, that's the good news. They got to crack the Flyers again before I forgot to play after that. But I think New Jersey's coming up. I think the only team they beat this year was New Jersey anyway. It's like they three of their 6 wins are against the Devils. So I think they're going to get one here soon, but you know, we'll see if it's next game against the Flyers enough, because if not, then that's the new record for you.
What do you do to start winning games? So is it a mindset? Is it, like you said, it's in their heads? Eichel, we don't know when exactly he might come back. But do you even want to bring more younger players or AHL players into this right now?
Well, that's the other problem. Think about it. Their AHL team has been through a COVID thing for a couple of weeks. And one of their best players, they haven't confirmed it, but he hasn't been practicing and didn't play now on the second straight Amherst game in the AHL. So one of their best prospects in Arturo Ruotsalainen, if you connect dots, appears one of the people who did get COVID. So, you know, you take that out. And then they did call some guys out. They called Jacob Bryson up. Yeah. He's looked fine, but he just got hurt, but he should play next game. Borgen, who's one of the nice prospects, looked really good for 3 games. Then he breaks his forearm and he's out 8 weeks. So, you know, they brought some guys up, but the problem is they don't really have a lot of great prospects. You know, I mean, Dylan Cousins is their top prospect, and he's playing right now. They got Jack Quinn last year. He's in the AHL doing the best he can for a 19-year-old playing AHL hockey when he should be in juniors. So, you know, he's doing the best he can. It's just, there's not a lot there. You know, they're their best prospects are the defensemen. and Samuelson and Laxton, and then Ryan Johnson, who just finished with the University of Minnesota. So we'll see if he's going to come out this year or go back for more season. But, Ruotsalainen really is the only prospect they can call up. And, again, with the bad luck, it looks like that's not going to be happening anytime soon here.
I feel just awful for Sabres fans. They have such a passionate fan base. I know whenever I've gone to games, I'm like, I'll walk in the mall and everybody's talking Sabres. Everybody like I'll wear a random hockey jersey, but they'll come up to me and some people don't mind. And they just start talking to me hockey, and I love it. Yeah. I'm not really used to that sometimes in Toronto. Like, we got a lot more other things sometimes going on here. But there's such a desperate fan base, and they deserve so much better than this. I wish them the best of luck. Again, Chad, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
And again, you can reach Chad on Twitter at CM DeDominicis. Chad, again, thanks for stopping by. Let's go to the San Joe and Team ISO, the San Jose Sharks. We've got on the episode today, talking San Jose Sharks, Brian DeLumpa. He follows the San Jose Sharks, and he's a part of the Soul on Ice podcast. You can find him on Twitter at Brian D Imagery. How do you spell the whole title?
Brian DeLumpa Imagery. That's my company, if that's what you're.
Yep, and you can also you're on Twitter. Where else can people find you?
Yeah, on Instagram, Brian J DeLumpa, and if you want to check out my site, bdimagery.co.
Cool.
And appreciate you having me on, Peter. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime. Should I call you Brian or should I call you Brother B?
Man, either's cool. Like most people, once they get to know me, B ends up in there somehow, even if it's not invited. But I like that one. So yeah, B's cool.
All right. I'll stick with Brian for now. Maybe we'll be tight after we're done the next 20 minutes.
You gotta earn it.
So I already had a great chat with Kwame. He came in and of course that's Kwame Damon Mason. He's the director and producer of the Soul on Ice documentary. It's fantastic. Go check it out. I recommend it for everyone out there. And you're a part of the podcast that is a part of that team. And yeah, Kwame joined our program that I'm currently taking, the sports journalism at Centennial College postgraduate program. So first question off, before we get into San Jose Sharks, how did the podcast come off the ground?
Man, it's a really cool story because it's just reaching out for something that you think you can do. I literally, that's what I did to Kwame. Like after seeing Soul on Ice myself and it really resonating with me. I grew up playing. Being a player of color, I experienced some of the stuff that they talk about in the film. But I reached out to him just kind of on a whim one day, and I was like, yo, man, like I do, graphic design. I see you guys are kind of, just starting this out. Would you want some, some creative hands on board? And he brought it back to Akil and Elijah, and everyone was down to roll with me. So, and it's only been, Kwame and I were just talking about it. Tomorrow's episode will be about a year. I think it'll be a year that they've been doing the show. So I've been with them since like the summer. But it's been great to see it grow and just the response it's been getting in the last couple months. So we're excited.
Yeah, it's great. I listened to a couple episodes. It's fantastic. We're going to put the link on the website, jablamsports.com. This episode is episode 16, season 6. It's hilarious that you get to talk to Akil, of course, Thomas, and before I even throw this at you here, but please tell Quinton, if you get to talk to him, that he's got to kind of go with Byfield Castle. I feel that that's a thing. It's like he's a part of the Kings. He's like it's a cool name. For maybe he's the Rook and they can kind of go with that. But Byfield Castle, I think would be really cool if they can kind of brand that.
Yeah. Well, you better slap a patent on that now. You're seeing some royalties from that when it happens.
I'll do it. So you follow the Sharks, but seriously, you got Akil, you got Quinton, you got a few of the other guys, Devontae. Is there some beef going on the show as you as a Sharks fan, and they're all Kings?
Yeah, we can't stand each other off air. No, absolutely, like not at all. And I think it was because, for me personally, I follow the entire league. The Sharks are always going to be my diehard and my day one team, but I'm always interested in other teams and their players as well. But yeah, division rival, definitely like not the first team I'm going to check out, but it's cool. I feel pretty blessed to know those guys and kind of get to see firsthand like their experience of coming up as pros. So I think I can put that aside, that rivalry for a little bit, but it's kind of tough when I have to be like promoting our stuff and it's all Kings. Yeah, but good time.
It has been a tough year though in California for the Kings, the Ducks, and San Jose. They are sixth last in goals scored in the league too. It's a battle though for California, who's at the bottom, I guess. But the Sharks, specifically the blue line, is a part of that offense. They've always been a part of that offense. And knowing that they're like sixth last in the league in scoring, I look to that offense, that blue line, and Brent Burns and Erik Karlsson are struggling. Even last year, they're struggling. Right now, Burns has 5 goals, 13 assists. EK65, 2 goals, 9 assists. I guess they're declining. Is this what we're going to have to expect from them going forward?
It's really frustrating, man, and it has been for a couple years, especially you see us throwing, just bills at Karlsson, and I'm a big fan of both players, but it is, you expect results, and I feel like we've compensated both of them, but I think the Sharks issue too, which they've had my entire fandom, my entire life, just having the depth too, like maybe not relying on just the top two, it's been sad to see. It's been difficult for us to get together like a solid 6 pair,
Yeah, it's bringing me back as my childhood team, the Maple Leafs. Now thinking how good their core is now, but maybe the depth isn't as good, and it's reminding me of those years of the Sharks with Thornton and Marleau, and they can never go all the way, and it's scaring me that the Leafs might be that team in the next this generation, right? So you hope they aren't.
Yeah, it's frustrating, man. And the run we made in 2016, that was because we had depth. We had scoring coming from the blue line. We had scoring coming from from forwards and people up and down the roster scoring. Now it's like all of our goals, I think top 3, like Kane, Couture, and I'm not sure who else, but it's pretty much all coming from like the same 3 names, and you're not gonna go far in this league with that.
We did preview the San Jose Sharks in episode 3 of this season, so you can check that out. That's on the website. And we mentioned Mario Ferraro. He had a pretty good season last year, and he has even a breakout season, and we kind of predicted it on that episode. He's looked great this year. Second round pick from Toronto, Ontario in 2017. He's looked fantastic. But when you look at between the pipes, they brought in on the offseason Devin Dubnyk. You have Martin Jones, and they both have subpar .900 save percentage. So can you even blame the defense, or are you blaming more that goaltending duo?
I will. I'll try to keep it light here because I do not think highly of our goalies. Not a fan of Jones. Haven't been for some time. I think he's had good runs and stuff, but it's tough, man. It's really tough to blame the D or try to make sense of our place in like the goals allowed or any of that but when you look at the stats, I mean, these goalies just aren't performing, man. Like you said it yourself, sub 90, so it's frustrating. And to not even have, I remember a time growing up when we had the exact opposite. We had two goalies that were so good, Nabokov and Toskala, just going back and forth. And I never thought like that was such a great situation to be in. But now it's the complete opposite. Is not a fun life to live.
It looks like they're going to miss the playoffs. So, and that tandem is not working. What's their plan for the future? We know a lot of their core is getting older. Is it time to rebuild?
God, I feel like every bad season you have, you want to chalk it up to we're rebuilding. But I think we have been for some time, probably since that 2016 team, like you could kind of mark that as seeing where the team started to disband, and, we started getting more call-ups from the AHL. People, Joe obviously leaving, that still hurts. So I would think we're still like in a rebuild phase. I would hope so, but it's tough to say, who's going to really step up to fill these roles. I feel like sometimes I'll pull up the roster, I'll only know half of it because we've, made so many transactions throughout the week, but we're still looking for that core again. Yeah. So I think it's definitely a rebuild phase.
Yeah, Ryan Merkley looks like he could be a stud on the blue line to replacing Burns or Carlson in the future. So look out for him, Sharks fans. But if you look at this roster right now, who do you think could be moved at the deadline?
That's tough to say. I haven't really been like paying attention to who we've been communicating with, but I have heard a couple names being thrown around. I know Sorensen has been like up there. He's been underperforming for some time. I like the kid, but if we could see someone else come in who's going to produce more, then yeah, I'm for it. And then I've also heard Vlasic might have been tossed around there too. And I think Vlasic's just, he's kind of a safe player, like he consistent. So again, if you could get someone who's going to bring more to the table, kind of hard to argue with that. But yeah, I guess there's a reason I'm not GM.
It's a tough situation to be in. That's for sure. One player who's still playing very well, and that's Evander Kane. 14 goals, 15 assists in 33 games. He's almost at a point per game clip. Like, if we had a full season, that would be roughly 73 points in a 82 game season. He's never had more than 60 points in a season. That would have been fantastic. So with all the things that are kind of swirling around the team, the year, and even Kane with the background stuff that he's been dealing with, how has he been able to stay so focused?
Man, I wish I knew, because I can't even stay focused on the stuff that I have to do. But power to him, man. He's got some, some mental strength, because I get pissed about the things people say about our podcast, like on Twitter. So I can't imagine that dude, anytime he's posted about anytime he posts or anytime he's posted about top 10 comments or, bankruptcy or whatever else. And you just I would imagine he just tunes out. He literally doesn't interact with it. I would imagine that's the only way you can really rise above it. But, they also say like the best way to get back at him is on the scoreboard. So I think he's done an immense job of showing like this isn't going to get to him. And he's, one of the few people carrying this team right now. So for me, it's actually pretty inspirational.
I think a lot of people also want to know, we've seen some of those tweets. Is Evander actually going to fight Logan Paul?
Man, I don't know anything about fighting. I'm not into any of that, but I would love to watch anyone hit that kid's face in. Like that is just I would pay for that. Yeah.
Oh my God. So continuing on the same theme, we saw on social media some of the bickering going on between him and Ryan Reeves on Twitter. In February, they got into it a little bit in one game, but they've kind of been silent. I don't know. I saw they only had an assist each until most recently, I think it was March 17th, when Kane broke out and had a great game, goal and 2 assists, and even Reeves had a goal that game. But is it all kind of quiet and dead between them really now?
I don't think so. I bet if anything, like Reeves just probably isn't giving the Sharks at all the time of day because they're just not even, contending this year. I don't know even how much we've really seen them. I'm trying to think back of how often we've seen them this season. But I think that's always going to be, between the teams and between those two players. That's just always going to be, heated. So, and it's cool. That's an authentic rivalry right there.
And it's good because you kind of want to see that edge. We don't see it enough. We want to see personalities in the NHL, and that's what we haven't seen for years. And it's good to kind of see the Matthew Tkachuks and the Doughties rivalry and the Reeves and Kane Doughty, a little bit of, extra colorfulness, extra exciting personality. I love seeing, even on the Maple Leafs, Matthews having have you seen Matthew's hockey stick? It's going to be on the website too. I'm going to post it. He has a new stick with CCM. He has the skyline of Toronto in his stick.
That's dope.
That is phenomenal. And I love seeing some of the players bringing out the Willie O'Ree skates. That's so cool. So
yeah. No, I think they always say, the NHL needs to do a better job of marketing its players, just like the NBA does, just like the NFL does. All those dudes have their own brands. They're promoting them all the time. They're multiple extra incomes from that. In the NHL, like you said, we've just so seldom do we get to see true personality. And even something as simple as putting your hometown skyline on the I don't know if it's his hometown, but the skyline on his stick, that's dope. That's showing that these are not just robots. These are people. And I think it just brings the fan into the game more. So I'm excited. I'm here for it.
And we are here for NHL stepping into the future.
Yes.
Brian, thank you for stopping by.
Of course.
I want to thank our guests today. David Dwork, it was great talking to him about the NHL and their schedules and everything they're going through right now. And specifically, of course, about the Aaron Ekblad situation and what and who they can be acquiring to replace those big skates. Chad DeDominicis, of course, it's been a tough stretch, a couple of years for the Sabres, but this is rough for them. So I feel their pain. Hopefully they get through that. And of course, Brian DeLumpa from the Soul on Ice podcast. It's great to talk to him. It's good to hear him chirping with his buddies. They're all LA Kings guys pretty much on that show. So I feel bad for him having to always hear about the LA Kings, but he's a guy who follows the Sharks. So it was great to talk to him about the Sharks as well. Remember, if you have enjoyed anything on this episode or you didn't, please tweet me or our guests. You can follow me on Twitter at Russia98 or the entire team at Jablam Sports. If you want, you can contact us, or if you have any questions or ideas for the shows, also, you can use the hashtag Jablam Sports, that's JABLAM Sports, or you can go to our contact page on our website, jablamsports.com/contact. Please check out our website, again, jablamsports.com, to see all our podcast episodes and even game notes for every episode. You'll get the info from our guests and links to things we mentioned on the show. For these divisional preview series, again, go to our podcasts and you can go to season 6, episodes 3 to 6 for these, and you can see all of the predictions our guests gave for the entire division. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you find podcasts. Also, click on the 3 dots in your podcasting app and share this episode with 3 friends. You can also follow us on our Facebook group. Shout out this week goes to Aram. He's in my program right now for the sports journalism program. Good buddy of mine. We might be doing a tennis podcast. We'll see, but it's great talking to him, just in between projects we're doing over Zoom. It's all over Zoom, so it's so weird. But it's good talking to him and, get feedback off each other for our assignments and how we're doing. So it's good, and it's good to see him getting to follow tennis and getting to, if you need somebody and you want to follow tennis, check out Aram. I'll have his info on the website as well. Again, this was season 6, episode 16. I hope you all enjoyed it. And to every one of our listeners, I'm giving you a virtual hug. Stay healthy, listen, be yourself, and stay strong.